Hi everyone, today we're talking about variation number 21. This is the penultimate variation, and it has to be my favorite variation of the entire set. It's just a beautiful, beautiful variation with lots to talk about. So let's jump right in. So variation 21 is in the key of D flat major. Variation 20 ended in C sharp minor. So we're just going to be staying within this key center, but switching it to major. So instead of hearing, we'll hear. So it's really interesting how he does that, where he goes from C sharp minor to D flat major, just making it major instead of minor, and switching to all flats instead of sharps. The important thing about the key of D flat major, first off, is this is the key that Rachmaninoff uses whenever he's writing a beautiful melody. Some examples come from the third piano concerto. He writes the second movement in D flat major, where you get this theme. Something like that. The first few notes go like that. And then there's also the most famous variation he ever wrote was variation number 18 from the Paganini variations, the Rhapsody on a theme of Paganini. And that's and a lot of people have heard that before. So D flat major is an important key for beautiful, long melodies for Rachmaninoff. The important thing about D flat in this piece is if we think about the theme, what are the last few chords of the theme? That was going to be A flat major, and then the third to last is D flat major. And we go to G7, and back to C minor. So you hear this D flat, G, C minor. And if you look at the last variations, variation 21 is in D flat major. The transition into variation 22 is all about G, and variation number 22 is in C major. So he outlines the last few chords of Chopin's theme with the key centers of the last three big sections of the piece. So again, variation 21, D flat major, transitions through G for 2 pages, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. And then the final variation, massive, massive variation, is all in C. Now let's talk about the specifics of this variation. This is something that we call double counterpoint, which is, let me just explain it, it's a little bit confusing. First, you're going to hear the theme in my left thumb. It's pretty much note for note, just in D flat major. Now, if I were to just play a third above these notes with my right hand, we would get something like this. It just makes for nice harmonies, all in thirds. However, this is not exactly what Rachmaninoff does. Instead, he uses those same notes, but he delays the right hand by an entire measure. So we'll get this sound. So you hear that we have double counterpoint, which simply means we have the theme happening in 2 voices, but they're at a distance of a third or a tenth, depending on the way you look at that interval. This is, again, not all Rachmaninoff does. To make this more Rachmaninoffian, he's going to add triplets in the left hand. His beautiful, beautiful flowing left hand in triplets. And in the right hand, we'll have those octaves a third above the theme, but he's going to add quintuplets, so 5 notes per measure, or rather per beat. So if you know anything about playing piano, there's a term called polyrhythms, which simply means we have 2 different contrasting rhythms going on at the same time. 3 notes in the left against 5 notes in the right. So this is a 3 against 5 polyrhythm. And we also have this double counterpoint at a 10th. And it's just very, very complicated, but it makes for the most beautiful music. So you'll get to hear what that sounds like when I play through it here in just a few moments. This goes on for the entirety of the first page. At the bottom of the first page, we get into our second section, where we go away from this double counterpoint, and we continue to get the theme in my right hand, or rather my left hand, my left thumb. And instead of continuing with the theme in my right hand is simply just going to be decorating with these octaves, switching between quintuplets, 16th notes, or sometimes I have an 8-tuplet, I have triplets, just decorations and octaves in my right hand. And it's stunning. So again, this is in 2 parts. First part, you have the theme in thirds, but off by 1 entire measure. Second part, you have the theme in my left thumb with decorations in the right hand. And it just makes for the most incredible, incredible music. So I'll go ahead and play the entirety of it for you, and I hope you enjoy this. It's the best variation. So variation 21. So that is variation number 21. Again, it's just some of the most glorious music. If you notice, the final page here that I have up right next to me, there's a fermata on this chord, and then it changes and says più vivo. but there's no change in variation number. Technically, the end of variation 21 has a 2-page transition into variation 22. I'll be covering this in depth tomorrow. I don't consider it part of variation 21. It's just not its own separate variation. It's just a big transition into the finale. So I'll call this the transition, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Lots of crazy things going on in these 2 pages. So we have 2 more videos to look forward to, the transition and then everything happening in variation number 22. That's the longest variation of the set, so be prepared for a lot to break down. So I'll see you in the next couple days. Thank you.